Oh, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Back. On the stream here on a Monday, getting the week off right. We're getting the week off right. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff going on. We are. How many days away? You want to know what I should be doing? Here we go. Hold on. How many days away are we from the election in 2024? All right, we're thinking. We're thinking. We're grinding here, aren't we, Chatty G? Oh. How many days away from the U.S. presidential election in 2024 are we? Oh, it just might be down.
Today is April 29th, 2024. So the U.S. presidential election, which is on November 5th, 2024, is 189 days away.
Damn, 189 days away. And it's going to be an eventful 189 days. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that, my friends. We got a lot going on, up to and including new polls. New polls are out. We're going to take a look. It's the poll dance, although I need the music on here. But we're going to start with these polls. Who let these polls in my room? Who let these polls? Where's your computer god now? We're going to have Andrew Main on the show on Friday. He's going to talk about a piece that he wrote for Reason about how the AI revolution is going to bring us to 0% unemployment. That we are going to see an employment boom in this country, the likes of which we have not seen since World War II. Let's go ahead and take a look. Now, I want us to keep in mind, when did the Donald Trump jury selection start? Okay, so jury selection for Donald Trump began around April 14th. So I want y'all to take a look at this. We just want to do Trump versus Biden from April. All right, so look at this. This was, how close did it get? Donald Trump up 0.2 on April 12th. And it was around then that I told you guys that Donald Trump was playing the martyr strategy. He was hoping to reheat what by far was his greatest electoral strategy of last year, at a time when Ron DeSantis was pushing up against him, was around 10%. Looked like things were looking down. Then all of a sudden, Donald Trump starts getting indicted. Bada boom. New York indictment. Bada bing. Mar-a-Lago. Bada boom. Georgia. Bada bing. January 6th. And the one thing that was consistent throughout all of it was that not only did Donald Trump gain with primary voters, and obviously he rolled through the primary, but he was gaining with independents. And he was building a lead against Joe Biden. And so I said, do not be surprised if, as Donald Trump is on trial, that he begins doing better against Biden, because Biden had made this really close. And then look at what happens. Look at what happens. He is now back up to a full point up and on aggregate with Real Clear Politics. And here's the reason why. You know, we have a poll conducted here. Biden up 1. This is as the jury selection is happening. And then here, this CNN poll. A CNN poll that, by the way, has not shown him. Let's go ahead and look back at all the CNN polls. But this is Trump up 6. That's head to head. And he's up more in the 5 wide poll. But let's take a look at this. Okay, CNN. Let's track this poll. So the last time was in January. 1,202 registered voters, 3.4% margin of error. Donald Trump outside the margin of error. He was up 4 there. And then we had October into November, Donald Trump up 4. This was last summer, Donald Trump up 1. So that's a big honking number, at least for a poll that has shown this closer. It by CNN, right? Like, if we only look at one poll story, that poll story is that Donald Trump is getting stronger in this race against Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. But let's go ahead and take a look at the 5 wide. Trump, Biden, Kennedy, West, Stein. Bigger. And this has been dicey, right? You've had some polls that have had Biden up. This has led to a bit of a different tenor from the Trump campaign when it comes to the RFK Jr. of the world. That, hey, by the way, he's a radical left loony. Not like, maybe you should think about him. When they executed Chungus for lying about how many bathrooms he had in his summer house. Oh, my God. But right now, that would be an outlier. It is notable, by the way, that the Real Clear Politics average has Trump lower in the 5 wide than the 1-on-1. Look at that. Yeah. CBS poll has Trump up in Pennsylvania by 1, right? So just consider that tied. That's not anything, but Pennsylvania absolutely must win. Trump up 1 in Wisconsin. That's an absolutely must win. And Biden up 2 in Michigan. Currently, the RCP average has Trump up in all of the swing states. Bloomberg Morning Consult really only has Michigan, considering how much fretting that the Biden campaign has done about, Dearborn. Michigan has been the best of the swing states that he has polled in recently, at least. But what's really concerning for Biden are the following states, right? Because you need these. Trump RCP average up 4 in Georgia. up 5 in Arizona. And remember, Arizona, their state party, the Republican state party in Arizona is an absolute shit show. Like tire fire, terrible. Same with Michigan. But Nevada, RCP average has him up 5 there. These ain't good numbers. They are not good numbers. So, am I right that, lawfare is Donald Trump's best strategy? I don't know. We'll see. We do know that the Supreme Court met to discuss the immunity question for the January 6th case, and it ensures that this thing is not going to happen this year. We're just not, there was a thought that the Supreme Court was going to reject the claims, and by and large, they did. The question then became, okay, well, what is the line between public and private acts, and how does immunity apply to those two different things? And that means that the Supreme Court are going to take their time to figure that out. They're then going to kick it back down the chain, and then it's going to work its way back to where it needs to go. And that just simply means that we're not going to get a January 6th federal case. We're not. That's just not going to happen. There's just not enough time. It's not on the schedule. The only case that will get to a verdict is the one we're watching right now. That's it. Is this a conservative talk radio moment? Look, man, I'm just getting the news out. I'm just getting the news out. There ain't no two ways to look at this. It is what it is. There's just no other way to read the room on this. The largest thing that Joe Biden has going for him is abortion. The more that we are talking about abortion, the better it is for Joe Biden. But I'll tell you what, the Arizona state party, actually, if we're talking about the tire fire, they actually got their heads out of their ass, and they're going to repeal that pre-statehood law. So, it's staggering how competent the Trump campaign has been run, comparatively. We're going to have Tom LoBianco on the show Wednesday. I want to talk to him. He wrote a book about Mike Pence. He has spent a lot of time around the pro-life movement. I kind of want to write a eulogy for the position that the pro-life movement has had coalitionally within the Republican Party, because it's gone. Done. Finito. It's over. You want to talk about old dog killer? Okay. So for those of you who are unaware, Kristi Noem is, North Dakota? I always forget which Dakota. And then the 7 people in the right Dakota start yelling at me. South Dakota. Kristi Noem is the governor of South Dakota. She is thought to be a vice presidential frontrunner. In fact, you want to know what? Let's take a look at the predicted rankings for VP. Presidency. Republican VP nominee. Okay. So here are the rankings. Tim Scott, Elise Stefanik, Tulsi Gabbard, Kirsty Noem, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Byron Donalds, Vivek Ramaswamy. Let me just say this. I don't think that prediction models are predictive. I think prediction models are a decent way where you can surmise where the general feeling of something is. And if you believe that there is a predictive quality to the general feeling of things, then you are a wiser man than I. I don't particularly find them a great way to look forward. I do find them a decent way to understand public sentiment beyond your own brain. And right now, Tim Scott, who's definitely not a virgin and is definitely getting married, he is your front runner. Elise Stefanik is at 16 cents. Tulsi Gabbard now ahead of Kristi Noem. Why is Kristi Noem behind Tulsi Gabbard, a woman who's not even in the Republican Party? I'll tell you why. Because she wrote a book. She wrote a book and she needs to fire her editor. I don't know how you read a book like that. If you are the editor and she gets to a thing where she shot a puppy because the puppy was misbehaving and was bad on a hunt. And so she took the puppy out to a gravel pit and shot it dead. There's a couple things that I need to go through with this. Here's the first. I'm a soft-handed dandy from the city, okay? Let's just get that out before anybody talks to me about how they're raw bone country, folks, and you just don't understand. City folks just don't get it. Save it for farmers only, okay? I don't know about any of that. The first time that I realized that I didn't grow up in a small town was when I went to college. I went from the 14th biggest media market to the 30th biggest media market, and I was upset that they didn't have 3 independent theaters so we could stagger the times in which we went to go see independent cinema, okay? I'm just going to tell you, I'm a foppish dandy. In a bygone era, I'd be wearing an ascot. So I don't know what it's like to be out in the country and have to shoot a dog for any reason. I don't own a dog. I don't own a gun. I have not shot anyone or anything. With that being said, what has been interesting about this is how Republicans have turned against her. And it has highlighted an immutable rule of the internet. Don't fuck with the dog people. Just don't. Just don't. Are they insufferable? Yes. God, they're insufferable. The dog avatar people might be the most sociopathically unhinged accounts on Twitter. Like, my version of Alien versus Predator is dog avatar people versus anime avatar people. But they care on a level that you don't. And they apparently have the time. They have the time to just go ape shit. And so they did. Kristi Noem, tried to explain, well, these are hard decisions. And I personally don't know what my line in the sand. And again, somebody who does not own a dog nor a gun. So my opinion is fairly worthless. But I don't know what the line of how poorly behaved the dog would have to be before I decided that I needed to shoot it dead. I've been around situations where dogs have had to be put down. Brian's talked about this publicly, but, he had a dog that attacked one of his daughters. And, when that happens, unfortunately, you know, dog's got to go. So, dog got put down. I can understand that. But apparently, this dog, I mean, Noam didn't say that the dog attacked anybody, and apparently it was a puppy. How poorly would a Merrill call have to go for you to put him down? Pretty bad. Pretty bad. Pretty bad. Pretty bad. But no, you want to know? I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I mean, I've hung up on him. The sad thing is, you could have just given it up for adoption. Here's the other side of this that nobody's really even talking about. She might also be lying. The kind of book that she wrote is a political hagiography about how great she is. It is not outside of the realm of possibility that she's fibbing a little bit. Why lie about something like that? Let me flip it. Why tell the truth about something like that? I think if you were trying to come up with the most extreme example of how you are a tough as nails person, that's why you might lie about it. All I'm saying is that these books, they often, contain tall tales, stretches of a biography to make one look superhuman. But I have no idea why that happened. The funniest part about it was Ron DeSantis. So there still are some crackling embers of dissension amongst the Republican Party. Ron DeSantis does not like Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem has taken shots at Ron DeSantis. She backed Trump very early in the primary that kind of happened. And when all this was going down, the DeSantis office decided to promote a dog adoption agency and just put out a video of an adorable puppy rolling around. we actually just need to see this. It's kind of, I mean, then, now, and forever, the question, why did Ron DeSantis get bad at his job when he ran for president? Like, you look at everything Ron DeSantis was doing before he became a candidate, and you look at almost immediately when he stopped what he was doing, and then you have everything in the middle, and it's like, why did you make it a bad? You were a bad when all the money was on the line? Why was it bad? All right, here we go. Again, it's so petty. It's so petty. But this was the video here. It's just this adorable little puppy playing around with a kid in the grass. Essentia is a lab shepherd mix who was rescued from the southern border, where a border crisis affects everyone, even our canine friends. Please consider giving Essentia a great home by adopting her from the Big Dog Ranch Rescue. And he's just out there on the governor's mansion lawn playing around with the kid. The kid's wearing a Tua Tagovailoa jersey. It's about as Florida as it gets. Look at all these adorable dogs. The kid can't stop petting the puppy. See, like he doesn't. How does he look normal now? He looked like a weird Westworld thing. And then, but a few hours later, Essentia got adopted immediately. Thank you. Ron DeSantis. I'm not going to shoot this dog. Because that's the subtext. The subtext is, I'm not going to shoot this dog. But meanwhile, speaking of Ron DeSantis, Trump and DeSantis met together yesterday in Miami. Kimberly Leonard, who we've had on the show a few times, we got to have her back on. Governor Ron DeSantis and former President Donald Trump seem ready to put their feud from the Republican presidential primary aside for real this time. The two Florida Republicans met in Miami Sunday morning to talk about how they could work together during the general election, according to half a dozen people familiar with the meeting who were granted anonymity to speak freely. The meeting was first reported by the Washington Post. The get-together was arranged by Florida real estate broker Steve Witkoff. Trump campaign officials said it was a good meeting at the request of Governor DeSantis. 3 DeSantis donors texted Politico to say that they thought the move for the two men was smart. DeSantis told his most loyal donors during a retreat in Hollywood this month, where I used to live, went to elementary school. Shout out to Hollywood Hills Elementary School, home of the Panthers. He'd be fundraising for Trump's campaign. Politico was first to report. The Republican governor proved himself to be a prodigious fundraiser during the 2022 re-election campaign, raising an excess sum of $200 million. I've said this before. A good RNC for Donald Trump includes a big speech by Ron DeSantis. An A+ RNC contains a big speech by Nikki Haley. And if you look at these polls, he's closer to making that happen. Aside from the fact that, like, here's the biggest difference in this campaign versus other Trump campaigns is that they've mostly pissed outside the tent. Not something that happened in 2016, not something that happened in 2020. You know, forget all the election fraud stuff. Forget the Raffensperger and Kemp stuff. Like afterward, he was taking swipes at DeSantis and Kemp during COVID, during the lockdown stuff. This campaign is pretty tight. They mostly just talk about Joe Biden. Shocker. They've made peace with Mitch McConnell. Shocker. There's been a few swipes at like Lindsey Graham and stuff like that. But if you're not yelling at Lindsey Graham, then are you really a politician? Did you hear that they were pitching Don Jr. to be the next head of the NRA? No. Although I don't know why Don Jr. would want to do that. I mean, maybe. I don't know. He's going to probably have to start thinking of what the Don Jr. show looks like, because the Don Sr. show is we're closer to the series finale than we are the series premiere, is all I'll say. And the NRA is a brand that probably deserves a little recitation. But, you know, that position is largely a fundraising one. Does Don Jr. really just want to be out there humping billionaires for money? I don't know. Off subject question, how are you liking Restream? So I probably haven't used a lot of the features in the way that I could be, but so far so good. It's done a good job of keeping everything up. I like the unified chat. You know, it's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. I like it. Trump being in court is the best thing to happen to his campaign. It means Trump can't talk in public for hours at a time. Well, I mean, again, I do this for a living. I read this stuff for a living. I write about this stuff for a living. I talk about this stuff for a living. And on top of that, I would consider myself to be a bit of a loquacious man, somebody for whom is not scared of the sound of his own voice. And even I, friends, even your old boy, the Gerbs, can't explain why Donald Trump is on trial beyond 2 sentences. I need 2 sentences to explain to somebody why he's on trial in New York. In general, I would imagine that if you are putting a president on trial, it better be for the following things. Crimes for which you can explain in 1 word, let alone 2 sentences. Rape, murder, maybe embezzlement. Maybe. But we have these 2 sentences. You know, it's like, well, he's being charged with a filing crime that he didn't correctly categorize expenditures because he was hiding a crime, but the underlying crime was never charged. Oh, it's a felony too. Explain it to a normie. Explain it to somebody that doesn't care about politics. And it's like, wait, really? Wait, what? What? Biden on the Stern Show is a fascinating mile marker in our cultural conversation. I mean, I am old enough to remember when Howard Stern was the most dangerous man in media. When Howard Stern was just as much of a reason why America was going off the rails. And now he's as safe. He's safer than the New York Times, literally. Safer than the New York Times for an interview. Howard Stern. It sounds like such BS when you say that he's being charged with mischaracterizing an expense in the books. Well, I mean, explain it to a normie. Here's how I understand the crime. The crime is that Donald Trump mischaracterized the checks he wrote to Michael Cohen. He said they were for legal expenses. They were not for legal expenses. They were for hush money that Michael Cohen paid to Stormy Daniels. Now, that is not a crime. Paying somebody to facilitate an NDA is not a crime. So then why is it a crime? It's a crime because it is in the eyes of the prosecutor, an FEC violation that he unduly influenced the election and did not, well, that he unduly influenced the election, that was ill-gotten money to be spent. But the FEC never charged him with that. So, again, it's just a convoluted thing. About a criminal conspiracy to hide an affair. But sure, but those are not like explain why it's a crime to somebody. That's all I'm saying is it just takes a lot of words to do it. If I make the crimes complicated enough, I can get away with anything. Well, I mean, I said this on the Sunday show. There's a reason why there are guidelines amongst federal agencies about charging politicians in the middle of elections. Not because they are above the law, but because things get complicated. We have a spectacular system here in the good old US of A that is the combination of influence, politics, justice, and money. But underneath it are a lot of weird compromises that we have made to keep everything rolling. And this is one of them. All I would say is that, look, and I'm not a lawyer. Save it for a legal stream to talk about whether or not this is a great crime to charge or a bad crime to charge. That's not my realm. My realm is politics. My realm is how will this play in the minds of voters, specifically voters in Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. 6 states. And it appears that just like when the indictments came down, that these are convoluted crimes that lend into Donald Trump's narrative that he is being railroaded, that this is lawfare. So that's all I'm saying. I mean, creepiness is not a crime. If creepiness were a crime, I probably shouldn't say it. If creepiness were a crime, then Ashley Biden's diary would be Exhibit A. Okay? If creepiness were a crime. Well, I mean, JDS, this is the that is a huge Trump thing, is that, that's literally, he said that. I mean, that used to be a meme I saw on r/the_Donald, that like they're after us. He's just in the way, but he's adopted that. And that's a huge part of his defense here. He's not in trouble for the affair. He's in trouble for trying to hide the affair. Isn't that why all scandals are a big deal? Well, like, Normally, that's not a crime, though. You are punished in the court of public opinion. And we certainly talked a lot about him fucking Stormy Daniels. We did that a lot. Talked about that a lot. She wrote a book. She appeared on stage with YG to introduce the song Fuck Donald Trump because she had indeed lived the gimmick. We talked about it so much that her lawyer became somebody that could run for office himself. And then he went to jail. Clinton wasn't in trouble for coming all over the blue dress. No, he was in trouble for lying in a deposition about it. And by the way, made Clinton more popular, for the record. Check the numbers. You see, Avenatti said he will testify for Trump. Now, the festival of scumbags that frolic around this particular issue between Cohen and Avenatti, good God. Good God. Just no moral compunction. Just be careful with lawyers, man. Be careful with lawyers. It's just a different world these guys live in. But yeah, okay, so we talked about DeSantis. Oh, I think I actually had a whole notepad of stream content. Oh, we got a great ad.
Washington, D.C. is a mess.
There's no.
Okay. Let's watch some ads. This is Governor Larry Hogan. Let's see. When is the Maryland senatorial primary?
The Maryland senatorial primary for 2024 is scheduled for May 14th.
Okay. So it's a late one, but it is upcoming. We are now within a month of the primary that will determine who will run against Larry Hogan. And this is Hogan's first ad that I have seen. Let's go ahead and take a little listen.
Washington, D.C. is a mess.
There's no common ground.
The left, the right, they're just shouting all the time, and no one's listening.
What a mess.
But now who is going to clean it up?
Republicans and Democrats are arguing all the time and nothing gets done.
And it shouldn't be this way.
It doesn't have to be this way. Enough is enough. And it's why I'm running for the U.S. Senate, to be a voice of common sense. I'm Larry Hogan. I approve this message because it's time we stop the partisan BS and get stuff done.
The only time that the word Republican shows up is at the end. The only red you see in the ad is in the Maryland flag. That is his logo. This is Larry Hogan saying, well, you know me. You like me. I was your governor. I am your governor. Just like me more. You know. Republican, Democrat, I don't even know. What are these labels? What are these labels? Who knows? Whatever. Yeah, it's sure. Yeah, okay. I'm a Republican. Sure. Yeah, go ahead, vote for me in the Republican primary. Oh, okay. Here's what I care about: everyday people or actors who are portraying everyday people.
Washington, D.C. is a mess.
There's no common ground.
The left, the right, they're just shouting all the time and no one's listening.
What a mess.
But now who is going to clean?
That guy's my favorite. What a mess guy.
They're just shouting all the time and no one's listening.
What a mess.
But now who is going to clean it up? Republicans and Democrats are arguing all the time and nothing gets done.
And it shouldn't be this way.
It doesn't have to be this way. Enough is enough. And it's why I'm running for the U.S. Senate, to be a voice of common sense. I'm Larry Hogan. I approve this message because it's time we stop the partisan BS and get stuff done.
All right. Let's actually look at the best thing that could happen to us. All right. Let's go ahead and find. Yep. The GOAT is back. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Don Blankenship is running for U.S. Senate as a Democrat, and he's in front. Well, let's just watch the ad.
Don Blankenship, candidate for the United States Senate, and I paid for this ad.
Don Blankenship will tell you the honest truth.
Don Blankenship, he's the most honest CEO in America.
Unfortunately, our government is not honest. Even the truth about the murders of Mr. Kennedy's dad and uncle are kept hidden. They even refuse to keep Mr. Kennedy safe because he left the party. Your choice is simple. You can vote for more lies, or you can vote for
most honest CEO in America.
If they tell you I fell off the bed and hung myself, I didn't. Don Blankenship.
The one-liners. The one-liners. This dude is the GOAT at the dry one-liner. So much to unpack here. Number one, Don Blankenship. If you have never seen Don Blankenship before, we will play one of his greatest ads of all time in a minute. He minted one of our favorite nicknames in all of politics, Cocaine Mitch. He ran then as a Republican, and now he is running as apparently an RFK Jr. Democrat in the Democratic Party, which currently does not include RFK Jr. He begins this ad, which is almost assuredly shot at his home, where I'm guessing his daughter is doing like a b-boy stance in an American flag jacket.
Candidate for the United States Senate, and I paid for this ad.
Don Blankenship will tell you.
We then go right to West Virginia U.S. Senate candidate, but it's just a like ad. It's an ad. It's a display ad that they have thrown into iMovie.
The honest truth.
Don Blankenship, he's the most honest CEO in America.
Unfortunately,
An old RFK Jr. clip of him saying he's the most honest CEO in America. We then go to clip art of the squad.
our government is not honest. Even the truth about the murders of Mr. Kennedy's dad and uncle are kept hidden. They even refuse to keep Mr. Kennedy safe because he left the party. Your choice.
So, I mean, I don't think that this is going to go anywhere. It would be amazing if we got a Don Blankenship versus Jim Justice general election in West Virginia. It would be an absolute blowout. But imagine Baby Dog versus Blankenship. Good God. I might move to Morgantown.
Simple. You can vote for more lies, or you can vote for
most honest CEO in America.
If they tell you I fell off the bed and hung myself, I didn't.
The GOAT. The GOAT. The GOAT, Don Blankenship. All right, here we go, though. For those of you who have not seen, let's go ahead. Don Blankenship. Cocaine. Oh man, we just have coverage of the coverage. Do we not have it clean? Here we go.
Hi, I'm Don Blank.
All right. This is a better produced ad. This is from the 2020 cycle. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Don Blankenship, candidate for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message. Swamp Captain Mitch McConnell has created millions of jobs for China people. While doing so, Mitch has gotten rich. In fact, his China family has given him tens of millions of dollars. Mitch's swamp people are now running false negative ads against me. They are also childishly calling me despicable and mentally ill. The war to drain the swamp and create jobs for West Virginia people has begun. I will beat Joe Manchin and ditch Cocaine Mitch for the sake of the kids.
I mean, it still hits.
Hi, I'm Don Blankenship, candidate for U.S. Senate, and
So, by the way, pro-life candidate, NRA life member, is now running in the Democratic Party, which is hilarious.
I approve this message. Swamp Captain Mitch McConnell has created millions of jobs for China people. While doing so, Mitch has gotten rich. In fact, his China family has given him tens of millions of dollars. Mitch's swamp people are now running false negative ads against me. They are also childishly calling me despicable and mentally ill. The war to drain the swamp and create jobs for West Virginia people has begun. I will beat Joe Manchin and ditch Cocaine Mitch for the sake of the kids.
What more can I say? What more can I say? Don Blankenship's the GOAT. This also was the first time that I saw what I would eventually come to know as the host from the Ruthless podcast that came out of Mitch McConnell's office. But when Mitch McConnell won his primary, they photoshopped Mitch McConnell's head on Pablo Escobar with a big, table full of cocaine in front of him. I mean, Cocaine Mitch makes one of the most staid members of the Senate seem electric, right? He seems more like a crime figure. What can you say about Don Blankenship? Well, I'll say this. When we first became obsessed with Don Blankenship on this show, we got an email that came in from somebody purporting to be Don Blankenship's former secretary when he was in the private sector. Don was apparently a very good boss. She had nothing bad to say about Blankenship as an employer, but she did say that he had a hard time sleeping. And so he would often take Ambien at night to try to help him sleep. But because he's an industrious CEO, he sometimes, his body would, take a long time letting the Ambien settle in. And he was prone to send some odd emails, including one that she got very memorably. One morning, she opens up her inbox and just sees alpacas. So she talks to Don the next day, says, "Hey, what do you mean alpacas?" And he couldn't remember sending the email, but eventually said, "Oh, you want to know what? I think I was watching something on TV. We should look into it, though." And that was it. So that's the best that we have on Don Blankenship. He's back. I have no idea who is running on the Democratic side of the ledger for West Virginia. Let's find out when that primary is. When is the West Virginia primary? Chatty G is overloaded today.
The the West Virginia primary is scheduled for May 14th, 2024.
Oh, wow. So we have both the Maryland and West Virginia primaries. Let's see. Is Don Blankenship Democrats, West Virginia? Who is running for Senate as a Democrat in West Virginia? Here we go. Right now, it is Don Blankenship, Glenn Elliott, and Zachary Shrewsbury. And then Jim Justice is going to very handily win the Republican side. I mean, do we have a shot at Don Blankenship versus I mean, probably not. Don Blankenship is not going to make it into the general election, right? What is Don Blankenship's stance on Gaza? I mean, right now his main campaign ad is that the United States probably killed both Kennedys, and if he commits suicide, know that it was a murder. He seems like a funny guy, Blankenship. El Condor Pasta 69 says, I wonder why I switched from a hardcore Republican to a Democrat. Well, I think Don just likes to be in front of the camera, to be totally honest with you. But, you know, Joe Manchin is probably the only Democrat who can get elected statewide in West Virginia because people like Joe Manchin. But, you know, Jim Justice is going to replace him. He's going to bring his dump truck dog to Washington, baby dog. People are not ready for that. They're not ready for it. I mean, guys, America's not ready for this. America's not ready for this fat dog to be like in the halls of the Senate. Look at this big fucking unit. And this guy brings it everywhere. Showed his butthole. Not ready. You said we weren't ready for sassy. Well, we weren't. We weren't. Hey, one more time. Let me shout out and salute everybody who donated to or has bought something off our registry. If there are any latecomers here to the crowd, my firstborn child is expected on Labor Day of this year. Many folks have bought stuff off our registry. It has been thoroughly pillaged. We've got We've got some more stuff there. Ooh, also, let's babydurymore.com. If you would like to buy stuff off there, thank you. Thank you to everybody who's already done it. If you'd like to do it, thank you as well. Thank you for even thinking about it. But let's take a look. How many tickets do we have left to our live show in Washington, D.C.? 13 tickets left. If you are in the DMV, if you are in or around the nation's capital on May 24th, 2024, that is a Friday. We're doing a Friday show. Anacostia Arts Center, live. Myself, Andrew Heaton, and Jen Briney. We will be there live, we're not wrong, in D.C., the town we talk about the most. We will finally be talking to. And those are likely going to sell out. I would assume that they will sell out if we only got 13 left. They haven't been on sale for a week yet. So I'm going to take a wild guess and say that those are going to be gone pretty soon. But if you want one, get one now, because I don't think that I haven't listened to the new congressional dish, but I would guess that Jen plugged it there. Or if she did, I have not plugged it on PX3, and I don't believe that Andrew Heaton's plugged it on his podcast. As soon as that happens, then the 13 are going to be gone. So that's that. How is Scoop Fest? Scoop Fest is not until 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now. I was up in Ohio this weekend visiting my family, my wife's side of the family in Ohio. We're kind of doing this month a little mini tour. Everybody gets to see the pregnant belly, and then they won't see us for a year. Because we're going to be busy. We're going to be busy with the honk. The honk is going to be honking it up, and we're going to be there to, cradle the babe. Yeah, great weather. Great weather out in the Mansfield area. All right, guys, we got to wrap it up. I got Tom LoBianco coming on the show. You will listen to that interview Wednesday. But till then, your old pal Justin Robert Young saying bye.